Mostly, I would say mostly of European descent, I suppose, mostly from European countries and mostly from Britain. So a lot of the Blantyre has several big medical facilities, research facilities. So we tend to get a lot of the children that come out of those medics. And obviously the doctors that come to work in the hospitals and that sort of thing that come over from Europe will send their children to our school, mostly. And then we do have some children that come from sort of more long-term expatriate families, like where they've been living in Malawi for a long time. Perhaps their parents are even some of them second generation living in Malawi. They're still really considered expats, but they could be tea farmers or something like that. They've just been residents in the country for a long time. So that's made up. That's the kind of part of the expatriate community. But then, like I say, we've also got an increasing African expatriate community as well. So Malawi's typically got a very unskilled labour force because the state education standards are very, very low. So what happens is some of the big companies that work in Malawi will employ. Obviously, by law, they seek to recruit locally, but then if they can't find the necessary skills, they are allowed to recruit. It's the same as us. You're then allowed to recruit internationally. So because the skill base is very low in Malawi, there are quite a lot of people that will come from neighbouring African countries where the education systems are better and people tend to be more highly qualified and educated. Places like Zimbabwe, Zambia, Kenya, Uganda. So people will come in from those countries to work at high-level positions, high-level executive positions within sort of major companies, car companies, and then their children. we are the school of choice as well for those children, for many of those children.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks, David. Okay, I'm going to move on to the third question, and that is there could be many challenges associated with gaining governmental support when operating in a least developed country. This is national government and local government I'm talking about. What are some of the governmental barriers that exist in your school, and what innovative methods have you used and employed to address these challenges?
It's $1 million question. Okay, so we're entirely funded by school fees. We're entirely funded by school fees of our children, but our property actually. So the history of our school was that it was set up as a school for expatriate children only, in the 50s or the 40s or something like that. So it was Malawian children weren't allowed to attend, but it was a government school that was set up so that expatriates could send, so that to enable the government to get expats into the country. Nobody would come if there wasn't a school that was good enough for the children. So in order to facilitate that, they opened up this group of schools, one of which was ours, that was then operated by expatriate teachers and that the children of expats could go to these schools. Obviously, since then, and many, many years before I was even there, it opened up to the public. So, but it never changed. And in the 90s, it was called the Designated Schools Board. But in the 90s, the Designated Schools Board was disbanded, but it was never disbanded in Parliament. So it still exists in name only. But so the upshot of that is that our school exists as an entirely independent school, but we are on government property. So the buildings are essentially government property. So the support, we don't actually actively get any support from the government. I suppose it could be considered the fact that they own the property and we don't pay a rent on the property or anything like that. That is probably a silent compromise, I guess. And there's always been this kind of debate which way the schools will go, the legal standing of the school and all that kind of thing. But at the moment it just exists in sort of limbo, I guess. But it's not behind closed